I would like to begin by saying, although this is ex-Scientologist speaking out, our first speaker is actually not an ex-Scientologist. He's in the academic variety, and he comes from Bristol in the UK. He was the first person in the UK to set up an anti-Scientology website, and that's got him threatened with legal action twice by the cult. He's going to be going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival on August the 11th, giving a talk called Create Your Own Cult. So if anyone's getting any ideas, that's where you need to be on August the 11th. So I don't want to delay any more. I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Martin Poulter.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So I'm giving the basic introduction for people who are new to this topic. And if you're new to this topic, you're probably not used to being in a room with all these masked people. That's probably quite strange. I have to say, Anonymous, I so admire what you do. Your campaign against Scientology has freed people from cults, has reunited families. I really admire what you've done. You're all heroes to me. Thank you. And it's a real pleasure and an honour to be starting off this the seminar with so many notable speakers, so many great ex-Scientologists, people who've literally written books about this topic, people who've been in key moments in Scientology's history globally and in Ireland. But my first point is that it's not just first-person accounts, not just testimony, it's not just he said, she said. Scientology is damned by the testimony of people who've experienced it, but also there are 5 different government reports which are largely very damning. There's been a succession of really scathing legal judgments. My favourite is the England and Wales High Court saying it's a corrupt, sinister and dangerous cult. And there's been massive leaks of internal documents, the internal scripture and policy, and they really back up what you're going to hear in the rest of the day from the ex-Scientologists, that the abuses that you're going to be hearing about, it's not one bad apple or this thing went wrong that one time. It's the policy of the organisation, and the harm is caused by the policy being carried out the way it was intended. So there's objective facts that claims that Scientology makes that you can test and which turn out to be lies. Speaking of which, let me introduce you to L. Ron Hubbard. If you want the model of the charismatic cult leader who goes from being an impoverished science fiction writer in America to being, at the time of his death in '86, nearly a billionaire, L. Ron Hubbard is your role model. According to Scientology, Hubbard was a recognized expert in 31 different fields. And that's the legitimacy of Scientology. He was such a learned and wise man, exactly. He boasted 2 PhDs. That's impressive, isn't it? 2 PhDs. Okay, one was a PhD in Scientology. So come on! He obviously awarded that to himself. The other came from Sequoia University, and that sounds legit. There was a UK government investigation. What is Sequoia University? It's a PO box in a motel in the States, and it was a degree mill set up by L. Ron Hubbard. And the transcript of Hubbard's grades from George Washington University shows he was kicked out of his degree for poor grades. He never qualified, he never got to expert status in anything. They're also told that he was a war hero. So the story you'll get from Scientology is that Hubbard was flown back from the front in World War II from fighting the Japanese. He was the first casualty of World War II. He came back crippled and blinded. The doctors could do nothing for him. They left him there on the bench to die. But they'll say, he came up with these amazing insights into the human mind and its ability to cure disease in the body. He cured himself, he restored his sight, and he awakened amazing abilities that no one had had before. And he wanted to share this with humanity, and he's selflessly given this to all of humanity through Scientology. So 2 things happened last year I want to draw your attention to. One is that Tommy Davis, the church spokesman, said, that story must be true. It must have happened that way. If those injuries didn't happen, then Hubbard never cured them. And if he never cured them, then his teachings are a lie. And if that's a lie, all of Scientology is a lie. The other thing that happened Okay, so that's proof, maybe you've proven that. It must be true, because if not, Scientology's lie. The other thing that happened was that the National Archives of the United States released documents including Hubbard's war record, which showed he never even saw the enemy. He was put in charge of a boat in the Navy and went and attacked a bit of Mexico and caused an incident. We'll hear a lot more about Hubbard later on from Jerry Armstrong, who's probably the best person in the world to be talking about that topic. But Hubbard claims he had these amazing discoveries and insights, and he wrote them up in a book, well, initially in Astounding Science Fiction magazine, but he wrote it up in this book published in 1950, and it was a hit. It said that you could cure all sorts of things, you could cure disease, awaken amazing potential, and people bought it and tried it out with their friends, there were the Dianetics groups and so on. But Hubbard got into trouble, because he was saying he could cure disease. And he was selling products, he had this chemical dianisine, and we know he was unqualified, he was not a doctor, so he was got by the authorities for illegal practice of medicine, and stuff he suddenly was confiscated. And then he consulted with his advisors about the religion angle, and came up with the idea of making it a church. The gains are spiritual. Suddenly, it's outside the jurisdiction of Food and Drug Administration or medicine. It's spiritual gain. The same claims are being made, right up to now, right up to here in Dublin. What he also did was add on other layers of teaching. He'd say, this is it. I found the secrets of the universe, the secrets of human life, the secrets of the mind. And then a few years later, he'd say, well, okay, well, this is it. He'd add on another level. And he built up Scientology on top of it. So he wrote a lot of other books claiming to solve a lot of other problems. He built up, I'm projecting a chart here, some of you won't be able to see it, but it's called the Bridge to Total Freedom, and it's the structure of all of the different courses you can take in Scientology. And each row in the table, and each row is probably too small to see, is a different course or different level you can take. You start out at the bottom as raw meat. That's not my term, that's what they actually call you. You are raw meat if you have not yet taken a course or read a book. And initially, what we've heard about is the crazy science fiction stuff. That's not down at the bottom. The initial approach is really plausible. The initial approach is, we can help you with stress, we can help you with communication issues in your life, we can help you overcome that tragic thing that's happened to you, we can help you with your family, help you run your business. And it's not going to cost very much. But that's the way in to, as you go up, one of the things we go through is the Purif, which is this detoxification, I think, which involves spending ages in a sauna and taking doses of vitamins which are way above the medically recognized overdose. So it's crackpot medicine. But you go, and it gets to the stage where you're paying thousands in any currency per level. What's at the top isn't even the total spiritual freedom they promise. What's at the top is readiness for further levels which are as yet unreleased. So they're not even selling the thing that they're charging the money for. So what Scientologists do is work their way up this bridge from raw meat towards total freedom. And what gets people at the start is the hard sell procedure. And that's not my term for it, that's actually what they call it, the hard sell training. But you don't have to pay. If you've got money, they can take any amount of money. If you've got a mortgage, you remortgage your house. If you've got money set aside, they take that. They can take any amount of money by getting you to go through different courses. But you don't have to pay anything. You could join what's called the Sea Organisation, which we'll hear a lot about today. You could go and live in a Scientology compound. You wouldn't have to pay. You'd get bed and board and get up to bridge total freedom. But here's where what happens is what you might classically call brainwashing. And people being restricted, inability to, restricted sleep, restricted in what they can eat, families having restricted access to their children, people being locked up, some of the serious stuff that we're going to hear about today. And getting up to bridge total freedom involves an e-meter. So some of the charge is that Scientologists are expected to buy 2 of these. This is the Hubbard electropsychometer, which is supposed to register thoughts and images in the body. It's basically electrically no more complicated than the shaver. And doesn't it look like what people in the 50s thought technology would look like in the 21st century. That's what all Scientology look like. Finally, Scientology will say about this event that it's religious bigotry and persecution. They'll say, we're a minority religion. Why can't we just be left alone to practice our religion? And this is material, I'm projecting material that they've handed out about one particular critic. And a lot of us here have had these leaflets being handed out in our neighbourhoods or to our bosses to try and discredit us. First of all, religious freedom, if it means anything, means the freedom to leave Scientology once you've decided you don't want to be a Scientologist anymore. And that is not respected by Scientology. We'll be hearing about that today. Secondly, there's no religious freedom defence for human rights abuses. A lot of what we're going to be hearing about today is human rights abuse. It's no exaggeration, and that's not protected by any kind of freedom. Finally, I don't even think it's a religious issue. I don't even care whether they call it the church or not. They are selling something, they are selling products and services for a huge amount of money or labour. They want money and devotion and your life. It's entirely reasonable to ask, is it dangerous? Do they have it to sell? What are the risks? It's entirely reasonable to ask that. Whether it's a church, whatever they call it. And with that, I'll yield to our next speaker. Thank you very much for your time.
Not an ex-Scientologist. He's in the academic variety, and he comes from Bristol in the UK. He was the first person in the UK to set up an anti-Scientology website, and that's got him threatened with legal action twice by the cult. He's going to be going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival on August the 11th, giving a talk.
I'm not used to being in a room with all these masked people. That's probably quite strange. I have to say, Anonymous, I so admire what you do. Your campaign against Scientology has freed people from cults, has reunited families. I really admire what you've done. You're all heroes to me. Thank you. And it's a real pleasure and an honour to be starting off this the seminar with so many
I would like to begin by saying, although this is ex-Scientology speaking out, our first speaker is actually...
So many notable speakers, so many great ex-Scientologists, people who've literally written books about this topic, people who've been in key moments in Scientology's history globally and in Ireland. But my first point is that it's not just first-person accounts, not just testimony, it's not just he said, she said. Scientology is damned by the testimony.
Create your own cult. So if anyone's getting any ideas, that's where you need to be on August the 11th. So I don't want to delay any more. I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Martin Poulter.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So I'm giving the basic introduction for people who are new to this topic. And if you're new to this topic, you're probably